This is the week we have been waiting for. It's Backyard Brawl week, baby. And we are here to preview it, do our annual preview with JJ Kitchen from Talking College Football with JJ Kitchen. We're going to break down the game. We're going to talk about the X factors for each team. What can each team do to pull off a victory? And how big of a loss was Ohio, according to a Pitt fan? We're going to find all that out in this show. So without further ado, let's bring on tonight's guest, Mr. JJ Kitchen. JJ, what's up, brother?
Pumped to be back here, man. It's Backyard Brawl week. It's the heart blood of college football, and that's the rivalry games, and especially in this region. I think it's a shame it's the last year of this for till 2029, and it's a shame. But at the end of the day, you just got to enjoy it while it's here.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you coming on the show. I know we were talking off air about both of us are very busy, so appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to do this with me, brother.
Hey, anytime, man. It's always a pleasure to come on here, brother.
Yep.
You're the best of the best when it comes to West Virginia.
Hey, thank you very much for that. And same goes for Pitt. If I want to learn about Pitt, man, you're the guy I go to. But real quick, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the game, man, can you just talk a little bit about what your thoughts are as a Pitt fan watching West Virginia or hearing about the West Virginia game? I don't know if you watched it or not, but seeing West Virginia lose to Ohio 17-10 on the road, what were your thoughts about that game as a Pitt fan?
I think for me, it's more of a level-headed. When I looked at it, look, you don't want to lose to a Group of 5 school. I mean, it's never. I mean, I'd be insane to sit here and say, hey, it's okay to lose to a Group of 5 team. But when you look at West Virginia's position, and I've said this before in the beginning of the year, it's why I was so shocked to see some, reporters and podcasters talking about a 9-10 win season for West Virginia. But I think when you have 81 new guys, I mean, you have to have a conversation about what's truly realistic. Ohio had like about 51, 52 new players, but the majority of their staff was really the same. They promoted from within. They kept a lot of the same guys. Is it a good loss? By no means, no. But at the end of the day, I think West Virginia fans need to understand if they were expecting to compete in 2025, they were misguided. I think you need time to build this the right way. Bringing guys through the transfer portal, but also in the terms of the Rich Rod era, he wants to bring in high school players and then develop your high school players, then keep them here. There's a process to that. And I think that the Curt Cignetti stuff, he brought so many guys with him from like JMU, and people are trying to compare it. Everyone's trying to say, well, Curt Cignetti won it. Also, too, his schedule was extremely, cupcake through the era. But,
absolutely.
Yeah. But then when you bring 35 to 40 players from JMU or former players who transferred out of JMU to other places and they know his offense, it's completely different. You look at West Virginia right now, I've said it before, their team last year, it's a whole new offensive line. There's a lot of guys returning. If you remember, the center for Indiana is Matt Kadich out of the Whitfield here. He was there for 4 years. I mean, he had played in the Big Ten. You're looking at a whole different realm of players that are coming through here. I mean, it's totally different. So, while I understand it's definitely not a good loss, but people need to understand that there's a lot going on and it takes a lot to build these programs. And he needs time. I mean, I understand it. Look, at the end of the day, you talk to Pitt fans, they were laughing, obviously. And look, we've all been through there. Pitt has had their fair share of stupid games they've lost. Heck, they've lost, they lost to Ohio in 2011 in Ohio. We've all had those losses. Heck, we lost to Western Michigan in 2021. We still win an ACC title. You have those losses, but I think that people need to understand, especially West Virginia fans, that this is going to take time. And that the facade of like 9 to 10 wins was way overblown. And that's before the Jaheim White injury, the Jaden Bray injury. There needs to be an understanding of like, hey, we need a full year. Like, you're doing a whole new offense, a whole new defense, a whole new special teams. I mean, there's a lot involved with getting these guys going. And I think we've seen from previous years, unfortunately, West Virginia's getting Pitt in the third game. If Pitt and West Virginia are maybe facing each other down the line, maybe in November, we might have a different discussion. But also, Rich Rod's been through this to where, hey, he needs 3 games to get this thing rolling. I mean, eventually people need to understand there's a lot in terms of coaching and developing players.
Yeah, that's what he did last year at Jack State. They went 0-3 at Jack State last year because he had 60-some new guys. I think there was a Power 4 game in there too that he probably wouldn't have won anyway. Let's be honest, but still, I mean, he, like you said, it takes time to gel. It takes time, and I compared it in one of my shows, JJ, to more like the Colorado situation a couple years ago when
Exactly.
Dion came in. I thought it would be closer to that than what Cignetti did a year ago because it was a lot more turnover and even more so than what Dion had. And the thing
Yeah.
about West Virginia's turnover is a lot of the guys didn't even like 30 some players didn't even arrive until after spring ball.
Yeah, and that was pretty crazy in itself. When I looked at those numbers, when you don't even get spring ball, I mean that's a lot. I wasn't a big fan of the portal in the spring because there wasn't a lot. I don't think there was a lot of talent really in there.
Mm-hmm.
You were really picking up scrapes, and that's why Pitt was being personally me. I thought there was a couple running backs that they could have picked up in there, potentially another tight end. They got one out of Marshall. He's done a good job to this point, Holmes. But your options were limited. But when you're starting a program where you lost the majority of your players, you got to take those guys. And then I knew something was wrong when Rich Rod was taking guys in the portal in the fall. That is never a good sign. I mean, that's in an immediate moment. Then that's when I knew, okay, he's looking for more depth. He's looking for more bodies. But also, he did. I think in a way he did the right thing by taking advantage of Jalen Knighton. I mean, I think that's not on Rich Rod. I think that's on the academic department. Agreed. Of why he wasn't warned about that. That's not a football coach thing. That's an academic thing where people should have been able to tell him what was going on. The same thing with a couple other players that left the program.
Jamar
Obviously,
Robinson.
You had a Tennessee off.
Yep.
Yeah, Robinson. That whole situation has been wild. At the end of the day, how we have it, I think he's expected to play this week. I expect him fully to play. They haven't announced anything, but from my understanding, I fully project him to play. And I expect him to start at defensive end this week.
We actually got info on that today. Rich Rod, during his presser today, said that they were anticipating that and were preparing for that, but it doesn't look like he'll be ready. He won't be through the acclimation process. They have to go through a certain acclimation period.
Oh yeah, like the first 2 days, it's like helmets and skellies.
They weren't able to start that process early enough for him to be ready by this weekend, I don't think. So it looks like he probably won't play this weekend. But crazier things have happened, but I wouldn't expect it. It'll likely be next weekend when they play Kansas at Kansas before he's able. Which at least he'll be ready for conference play. I mean, that's
yeah. I mean, and also too, he'll get a week of practice.
Yep.
Get him back into the acclimation of things of how practices run, how Rich Rod runs things. But even again, and also too, you look at the schedule. Kansas, I think I give them more height this year because one, they just opened that stadium. I saw the first game of the year; those fans were all pumped up.
Mm-hmm.
They were all excited about that stuff going on, and I think that's from a number of different angles. Where Kansas will be certainly a hard game on the road, so it'll be fun to watch.
Yep, agree. All right, real quick, JJ, we're going to dive into Pitt, but real quick, where can people find you in your work, man?
Yeah, so you can find me over at Talking College Football on YouTube. And then you can also find me on X at JJ_Kitchen40.
And for those watching, you can see it all on the screen there. I have it have his name and Twitter handle there, and then also have scrolling on the bottom where you can find him on YouTube. But anyway, let's go ahead and dive into the game, man. What is, from the Pitt standpoint, man, what we all know about Desmond Reed. We all know about Holstein, the quarterback, right? Who is another player on Pitt's roster on the offensive side of the ball that West Virginia fans need to be looking out for?
Yeah, so I think they have to really look at a guy like Kenny Johnson. He was a guy expected to come in here, be a number one wide receiver last year. He didn't really get to be able to go through that. The numbers really didn't show it as the year went on. Kanate Mumfield really took that first position as wide receiver one. With him being back, he's supposed to be, and I think he will be at one point eventually wide receiver number one. I think that's the biggest thing. So Kenny Johnson. Mm-hmm. But number two, the guy to watch for, who we've just been extremely excited about as Pitt fans, is Kateris Blue Hicks, the 4-star transfer out of Louisville. This kid, I mean, you heard it through the spring, you heard it through the fall. He was making these crazy catches, but usually I'm a guy that, you hear things out of camp, but how much can you really trust? You're facing each other. What does it look like?
Right.
The first 2 weeks he made that, the first week he made that one-handed catch. He's got that speed. He's a guy, he'll be in the slot. They can put him outside. He's a guy to watch for. And I think that the offensive side of the football, those are the two other guys I'd have a lot of eyeballs on, is Kenny Johnson and what he's able to do, and then Kateris Blue Hicks. Those are the two guys I think they're going to get active pretty quickly.
Is Gavin Bartholomew finally gone?
Finally, he's off to the NFL with the Minnesota Vikings.
Thank goodness.
But man, that's been a whole nother room. That's been a whole nother thing about trying to find who's going to be our next tight end. Jake Overman, started the year when got a little banged up last week, didn't dress last week. Expected to dress this week, but then you had a guy like Jordan Holmes who came in as a transfer from the University of Marshall, which was crazy because at Marshall, for whatever reason, I think this is on the SID at Marshall, they had him as a 6 foot, 225, 230 pound tight end. Well, across the country, you can imagine a 6 foot tight end. That's a little small. That's a guy that's very undersized. Well, then they come to find out, they recruit him, they bring him to Pitt, they find out he's 6'3". He's not 6 foot. So that kid, I think he lost a lot of opportunities to go other places because he was, the size was off. Because even Pat Narduzzi talked about, he was like kind of skeptical about it because he's like, hey, he is a smaller guy, but then he ends up being 6'3". And then you got a guy like Malachi Thomas who's back at 6'4" as a redshirt freshman. So, it's a younger room, inexperienced room. Jake Overman's got a lot more experience, but they've done a good job to this point. But I think in a Cade Bell offense from what we saw previous years, he's going to look to utilize, the running backs and the wide receivers more often than the tight end.
What's the O-line look like for Pitt?
So it's really been a mixed bag at this point through 2 games. The one thing that I talked about that I wanted to see more consistency from was the running game. And I think through the first 2 weeks, you looked at the running game. Okay, yeah, they had over 130, 140 yards rushing in both games, but that doesn't tell the full story. There wasn't a lot of consistency. You had a lot of big runs from Desmond Reed, and then you saw Joel Goff get 3 or 4 yards per carry. But then you saw other times where they're getting hit in the backfield, they're getting stopped at the line of scrimmage. So there's been a lot of inconsistency on the offensive line in terms of run game. Now, when it comes to the passing game, I feel like in practice they're really in more pass protection than anything else. I think during this Cade Bell offense, there's a lot of NFL concepts. He talks about how he likes to establish the run, but I think when you watch these games, he's looking to throw the ball 30, 35, 40 times a game. I mean, he's looking to throw it all over the yard. And I think with now Eli Holstein in his second year, it's been more effective in terms of, hey, we're going to throw the football around the yard and just really utilize the guys that we have here. And, for the pass blocking, there's only been 2 sacks on the year. There have been pressures, but not a lot of pressure. I think the Duquesne game, but it's Duquesne. I don't really put too much fold in that. There's 3 pressures in that game, 2 pressures against Central Michigan. But then again, also to be comparative, look at the level of talent you were facing in both of those 2 games. Pitt took care of business. Central Michigan made it interesting in the third quarter, but Pitt pulled away. But you still want to see the consistency. The running game, I have a lot more to be desired for the running game. Again, Desmond Reed, 5'8" on a good day. Joel Goff, he's 5'10". The weight room has really helped him out run the football. And then Jakarian Boozy Turner, the true freshman, he's really turned it on here in that last game. But at the end of the day, the offensive line's got to get a much more consistent push. It can't be one or the other. If you want to be a good team and you want to make sure you win games, like when you're going to Morgantown, you better be consistent, because I think what we've seen over the years, it doesn't matter what the records are. It doesn't matter,
right,
what anybody's ranked. We've seen it both ways. You better be on your game, and both of these teams are going to be playing their asses off in this game.
Yep, I agree with that, man. Zach Alley, West Virginia's defensive coordinator, today in his press conference actually called Desmond Reed one of the best. Said he might be the best tailback in the country. So I don't know if that's just coach speak. He's trying to get his guys ready to go, or if he truly believes that. But I mean, we've all seen Desmond Reed and what he can do, especially in the return game. I mean, he's deadly in the return game.
I think, he's done a good job to this point. I think what Zach Alley's doing is being a good defensive coordinator and talking to his team through the media, telling them, hey, this is the kind of player you got going on. And, Pat Narduzzi did that this week as well. I mean, he talked about, I think he confused, I believe it's Noel Devine that's on the coaching staff, not Steve Slayton. So he can, he confused those two. But then again, I mean, they were both great running backs at West Virginia. So he had that there, and he talked about the quarterback situation, that Nico Markiel, a guy that's back there. He talked about how Jalen Henderson's a guy that can certainly move, can really hop in there and do what he needs to do. At the end of the day, I mean, he talked about it as well. Gave a lot of props to a lot of these players. At the end of the day, it's the backyard brawl. You got to be prepared for this. And I know for a fact how he operates as the week goes on. I can assure you, he's pushing those guys in practice to say, look, I don't care. And then he even brought up at the beginning of the week, you're talking about, look at all the teams around the country. Wisconsin almost lost to a group of 5. Rutgers almost lost to a group of 5. Florida lost to USF.
Yep.
So you're looking around the country, they can sneak up on you. It's that simple.
Troy darn near beat Clemson.
Yeah. And then you had a couple of years ago, Bowling Green down to its last drive, the 10-yard line, almost beat Penn State at Penn State. Mm-hmm. They sneak up on you if you're not ready. These games, it's a full welterweight of emotion. You got to be smart. You can't be stupid. And I think that's kind of something that Pat Narduzzi has pushed on the players to say, hey, let's go out there, let's play Pitt football and be physical. We're going to be a physical football team, but also don't be dumb.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, Rich Rod called Eli Holstein an NFL quarterback, which,
I saw that, yeah.
Maybe that's true. What do you think? Do you think he's an NFL caliber quarterback?
I think he's got potential. I think that, we saw a lot of what he did last year. Again, he was 7-1 last year as a starter, but we're 2 games into the year 2. I think he has the potential to be an NFL quarterback, but we want to see more consistency. We saw like this past week, each week with the progress that we've seen, which is a really good thing, is that he's gotten better. And look, he's willing to take risks. I think good quarterbacks take risks. Mm-hmm. He had a guy open the Central Michigan game. Instead of throwing a lob, he tried throwing a dart, throws an interception, changes a little bit of the momentum. But those are things you can coach up and learn from.
Right.
I just think that we want to see here, hey, and it's the second year of Eli Holstein, but we've also faced Duquesne. We've also faced Central Michigan. When we start to really get into the meat of the schedule, which starts now against West Virginia, it's a P4 team. Then I'll start to really judge.
Yep, agreed. I get it. I figured it was Coach Rod doing coach speak, like you said, motivating through the media.
Yeah.
But I want to get your thoughts on that. We're going to talk about the defensive side of the football for Pitt on the other side of the break. We'll be back in about 2.5, 3 minutes. This episode is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Don't let one bad leg haunt your parlay. Parlays turn into payouts, and now even near misses won't haunt your bet. The NFL season is here, and college football is now in full swing, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is rewriting the rules with Ghost Leg, a new game-changing promotion that turns close calls into cold, hard cash. Best of all, it's available to all DraftKings customers. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Couz, that's code Couz, C-O-U-Z, to unlock Ghost Leg, the promotion that makes one bad leg disappear and pays you out in real cash. Ghost your losses. Get your payout in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Fees may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Opt in for single-use token. Minimum 3+ legs and minus 500 odds per leg. Max bet varies. If only one leg of the bet loses, bet will settle as if only the winning legs were placed and pays out in cash based on odds when the bet was placed. See terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. Also want to give a shout out real quick to SWVLE, who I'm partnering with right now. Thanks to SWVLE. Right now you can go to SWVLE.com. It's SWVLE.com, and you can sign up and add it as a Google Chrome extension on your browser or your browser extension, whatever browser you're using. You can follow Couz's Corner over there, and you can get all of your Couz's Corner content right on your desktop, right there on your homepage. So go check it out today. You see what it looks like right there. That's what my page looks like. So go check it out today, SWVLE.com, SWVLE.com, and follow Couz's Corner today. And thanks to SWVLE for partnering with me here on the channel. All right, JJ, let's dive back into it, man. Defensively, what can Mountaineer fans expect from Pitt as far as what players can they be on the lookout for?
Yeah, so this side of the football, this is like the Pat Narduzzi special. So that's why I'm more comfortable with the defensive side of the football. People know about Kyle Lewis, All-American from last year. Rasheem Biles is back. I expect him to be an All-American this year. Braylon Lovelace is a guy to watch in that middle of that linebacker crew. He's taking his level from here to here, and that's what you wanted to see in this final year of playing at Pitt at the linebacker level. Braden Lovelace is going to have himself a really good year. That's a guy to watch for.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the safety position, Cruz Brookins. I mean, the kid has really turned into a damn good player. I mean, when people were skeptical of who he was coming out of Steel Valley in the WVU, we took him as a late recruit. Man, the kid has really transformed his body in the weight room, has done a really good job. Had an interception in this game last year, hit a little bit of a wall in the middle of the season, like that red shirt, that true freshman wall. This year, he's been full tilt. I mean, the guy's been absolutely incredible. And then when it comes up front, the guys to really watch for, we saw a little bit of a breakout last week. Zach Crothers at defensive end. I think my midseason, he may be one of the best, if not the best defensive end that we've had. Back to really what Pat Narduzzi does, a 6'5" guy, really good length, really good aggression. You love his physical hands. He's being able to really disengage with the offensive tackle when he's looking to especially strip right through the tackles. He looks really good. And then on the inside, you always got to look out for Sean Fitzsimmons. I mean, he's done a really good job. He's been healthy this year. That was something that he dealt with the past 2 years. It's been good to get him back healthy. So I think overall, I mean, that's really the guys you want to look out for on the defense. And then, as long as they stay healthy, my goals for the defense stay pretty high.
Yeah, and what was that DN's name again? I'm going to write his name down.
Zachary Crothers. Crothers is Crothers. The kid, I mean, we've heard a lot about him. We weren't sure when we were going to see him. And then really this past week, if you go back and watch the tape, I've watched so much tape in the past couple of weeks. I've watched Couz. I went back, if you remember in the day, Rich Rodriguez versus Pat Narduzzi at Michigan State. I watched 2008, 2009, 2010.
Wow.
Also saw their last year at Cincinnati with Mark D'Antonio and Rich Rodriguez. I mean, it was a blast from the past. I mean, Rich Rod, man, he's a creative guy, and back then, he was one of one on that offense, and just seeing that the tweaks he's done in between there. But I mean, he's really still running that RPO and just at a high tempo, man. He's moving the football pretty quickly. So I mean, that's something Pitt's going to be looking forward to is making sure, hey, they're going to get to the ball very quickly, get back to the line of scrimmage.
It is, but man, when you're getting 3 and outs on every drive, man, it can kill you. And that's what happened.
That's
last
the negative.
Week. And he, the one thing I liked about Dana Holgorsen, and I'm not going to say Dana Holgorsen's a better coach than Rich Rod because I don't think he is. But one thing he did do as a coach, as a head coach, is once he figured out, hey, if I go fast all the time, it can actually hurt my defense, right?
Yeah.
And he figured that out later in his career, and he started. Yeah, he would still go fast at times, but he would also slow it down at times. He didn't run that, foot on the gas constantly, right? But I think Rich Rod sees it as an opportunity to differentiate his team and himself from everybody else. And at West Virginia, we don't get the 4 and 5 star guys like Ohio State and Pitt, or I'm not Pitt, Michigan and Ohio State, Michigan, Texas, Alabama, the blue bloods of the world. We don't get those guys. So you've got to be different, right? And I think that's what he tries to do. And it back in the day, it worked. Will it still work? I think it's obviously yet to be determined at the P4 level, because I think my fear is the defenses have now caught up to that because now all teams are running something similar. Yeah. But I still think he's a smart enough coach. He can tweak things, right? He knows how to tweak it. And he knows how to put guys in different spots. He started using the tight end more now than he did back in the day. There's a lot of tweak, like you said. He's tweaked it some over the years, and he can continue to tweak it. I mean, that's what good coaches do. But yeah, those guys have been at it a lot over their careers, man. It's very interesting to see.
They've known each other for a long time.
Who won most of those battles? I mean, because I can't remember off the top of my head who won them. Who won most of them?
So Pat Narduzzi overall against Rich Rodriguez between Cincy and Michigan State is 4-1. He was 3-0. Michigan State, that was their first win against Michigan in 12 years in 2008. He won 2008, 2009, 2010. And in all 3 of those years, Michigan scored 21, 20, and 17 points.
Wow. So Michigan scored that, or Michigan State scored that?
Michigan scored 21, 20, and 17 points in 08, 09, and 10.
Yeah, I'll give him a pass there because those Michigan teams weren't very good. So, and he was trying to redo a rebuild there, and he was trying to flip a roster and all that before the portal existed.
And that's before those final years that he had. Finally got Denard Robinson, but he was dealing with some shit, especially that first year. That first year, you went back, if you go back and watch the tape his first year and then go into his second year, it's a whole different ball game. I mean,
yeah, it is.
I mean, I do give him credit. In the second year at Michigan, I mean, he was ranked in the top 15. I mean, he did bring in. I mean, obviously there was no portal back then. I think he just coached those guys and developed those guys extremely hard back then when you were able to really push guys. He was still. I mean, he still did a good job in the Big Ten. I mean, his offense. I thought maybe potentially even more time. I just think that the donors were just that's a Michigan thing. That's a Michigan. You look at these schools with donors, and Florida and Auburn are prime examples of what not to do as donors and why they're not successful in athletics. Well, I should say football.
Yeah, Rich Rod. There were a lot of people that didn't want him there in the first place. So he had a really tough go of it. There. I don't know that he ever really had a chance, to be honest.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the Pitt defense. What side of the ball does Crothers switch sides, or does he normally line up on the same side?
So he's done a really good job of learning the system here in year 2, where he switches sides. Usually they'll put him on to the field side, where he's got basically open to the field, or I guess that would technically be to the field, the open side of the field. And he's done a good job, man. I think just from that freshman year coming into Pitt's defense, they got to learn what they're doing, and it can be complex. That's why. You're shocked to see sometimes, these defensive linemen come in and play early. It's different playing corner when you're playing quarter style defense. You can be in a delta or quarters. I mean, you're playing basically press man coverage. You either can as a freshman or you can't, or you need extra time to develop.
Right.
So it's different. The defensive line is certainly different in what they do, and especially the linebacker position as well.
Yeah. Hey, do me a favor. Go check out my good friends over at Appalachia Digital. If you need a brand new website for your small business, or if you're just looking to get found easier on Google, go check out AppalachiaDigital.com/Couz. These are the fine folks who designed my brand new website over at WVSportsChat.com. They did a fantastic job. I love their work. I think you will too. So go check them out. AppalachiaDigital.com/Couz. Let them know Couz sent you. Now let's get back to the show. The reason I asked that question is because, West Virginia has struggled on the offensive line for the first couple of weeks. Brand new O-line, 5 brand new players to the team and to the system.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them have very little experience. The one that does have the most experience was Walter Youngbear, who came from Tulsa, and he actually has been the lowest graded one of the entire group the first 2 weeks, which is surprising to me.
I was going to say, I watched the tape. I think he's actually done the worst. I mean,
he struggled. He's really struggling, especially now their pass blocking against Ohio wasn't terrible. I think they graded out in the 70s as a team. But their run blocking, man, has been horrid. Like they graded out at like 56 something.
And my question,
just bad, man.
Yeah, and my question was, whenever I was watching, because I went back and watched Robert Morris and the Ohio game. My question is, if you're struggling, why was there no rotation? Why was there not at least 1 or 2 guys pulled to where you have a conversation to say, hey, look, we got to change it up? A lot like the quarterback position. He needed a spark. He went with Henderson. Didn't work. He went back. At the end of the day, at least you made the change. I mean, that's good coaching. The question that I have, I watched this press conference today. I mean, I guess as a Pitt fan, you're probably happy to hear this, but when he repeated a comment where he said that the offensive line, he was asked about the offensive line, and he said, well, technically during the assignments, they actually did their assignments. Well, I mean, you're basically saying that they're lacking talent. I mean, that's basically what you're saying. If they were doing the assignments, I think maybe because they're learning a new offense, they missed a couple assignments, which, I mean, at the end of the day, when you go back and watch it, they missed assignments here and there. I don't think
did.
Yeah, I mean, to say that they had great assignment play, I don't know about that, but I'm kind of shocked that why he didn't rotate guys in. I think personally the best offensive lineman you guys have is Livingston at center. I think he has been, at least in retrospect, I mean, another level. Yeah, he's in another level. I think he's up here, and then down here is where you have those other guys. I think Livingston's playing another level.
Yeah.
But I mean, I
also think he may have the highest upside of ever. He and Nick Cray, I think, probably have the highest upside. Any of the guys on that line. They're both fairly young, and little experience. But again, those guys are. We have the same question as West Virginia fans. Here's the only two things I can think of that might be the reason they didn't. One is the backups are that much worse, or two, which is a problem, or two, they understand that these guys need more time to gel, so they need every rep they can get together. That's the only other thing I can think of that might be a reason. And they only snapped the ball because they were so many 3 and outs. They only snapped the ball 51 times. So it's not like they had a ton of opportunities to sub anyway. But you thought they would sub at least one series or 2 series,
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. He did say that he wants to get more guys in, but I don't know. And he leaves that up to his assistants. He leaves it up to the position coaches to make substitutions.
Yeah.
So maybe it's something he takes them to the side and says, "Hey, man, let's get more guys in." I don't know. It'll be interesting to see this week if they do the same thing again.
Yeah, because I think when I'm watching it, I think Livingston's a Neil Brown commit, if I'm not mistaken. Him and Cray, I believe.
He and Cray both are.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, people talk about Neil Brown, which I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, the wins and losses matter. When you have 4 losing seasons, you have a right to be out. But at the end of the day, he recruited offensive line very well. I mean, I got to give him credit there. You look at his offensive line. I mean, he had Doug Nestor that was there. He had
Brazier,
left tackle. Yeah,
Wyatt Milam.
I mean, look at the offensive line that was there.
Yeah.
I just think
who's now at Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I forgot. Oh, I forgot he went to Virginia Tech. Is that because the offensive line who went? Okay, yeah. So then he went.
Him
there.
and Virginia Tech starting center, who was a redshirt freshman, was recruited to West Virginia too. He also Kyle Altuner. He was a pretty highly talented recruit, 4-star kid.
Yeah. So I mean, you look at the roster overall. I mean, there has to be a discussion about how many guys. I mean, even Indiana didn't have that many guys that were moved on. I mean, and now it's just like for me. You look at the offensive line problems. I highly doubt, unless something absolutely crazy happens, I don't see him rotating any guys in. If he didn't rotate against Ohio, he's definitely not rotating against Pitt.
Probably not.
And I think the question that I have now is, and I guess to you at this point, because I mean, I'm watching it. I mean, the running back room confuses me because, now that Jaheim White's out, they put CJ, I think what's that?
Clay Ash.
What's it? Yeah. So he's in there. But then besides them, I mean, there's been a number of guys that have not played at the running back position. So I'm not sure what his plan was or why he didn't do that. Because when you're watching the film, you're like, okay, hey, your best player on offense is out. Clearly, it was, and I will say that was a dirty tackle. I will say, you know what? There was flags, there were laundry everywhere. I mean, you had all three of them in there. You had a face mask, you had a hit drop, and then you had a horse collar.
Yeah,
I mean, all 3 of them.
Yeah,
and I feel bad for that kid.
And the guy was clapping about it afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you feel horrible for Jaheim because obviously him and Kenny Johnson were teammates in high school. Who, again, you just talk about how good of a kid he is, but at the end of the day, it's a tough situation that they're in. But I'm just shocked that there wasn't. I mean, you got to find out what you have. Sometimes you might have a gamer in there. Sometimes they're not the best practice player. They might have a gamer. You got to throw them in there.
I agree. I mean, that's what Pat White was. That's how we found Pat White, because he didn't know Pat White was as good as he was until he put him in a game. And that's fans have been asking the same question. We've got a guy named Sincere Bowers who's a transfer. Cannot remember what school he came from. There's so many, JJ. I can't remember them all, man. To be honest with you. But he's come from a lower level. The kid runs a sub 4.40. He carried the ball one time. Put him in the game.
Find out what you have.
Rich Rod says he's not. He's almost ready. I don't know, man. We got Dior Hubbard, who was on the team last year, hasn't played a snap yet. Now, Rich Rod did say today he had been banged up some, so that might explain why he hadn't been playing.
Yeah.
We've got, Ty Edwards, the kid one of the guys who had to sue to get eligibility. He's supposed to be really good.
UNI, right? Is that where he's from?
He's from UNI, and he, now again he's behind because he couldn't practice for several weeks, right? So that kind of explains maybe why he hasn't been playing. But man, I don't mean to throw shade at Clay Ash because the kid works his butt off. He's a walk on. I mean, he's earned his spot. But he's not explosive enough to be your RB1 going up against Pitt. I mean, he's just not. Now, hopefully, I'm not saying he don't deserve to play.
Yeah.
He can get some snaps, put him in the game, give him some carries, but I just don't. I think Sincere Bowers or Ty Edwards personally needs to, or Dior if he's back healthy again. One of those guys, in my opinion, needs to be your RB1 in this game. If not, it could be a very long day. They've got to get Cam Vaughn the football.
Yeah.
Number 4 wide receiver for Pitt fans listening. Cam Vaughn is a West Virginia's top playmaker at the receiver position. The transfer from Jacksonville State. The kid's a stud. He's only a sophomore. Followed Rich Rod from Jacksonville State. Very, very good football player. I
agree. And it's funny you said that because, I mean, watching the film from Robert Morris to Ohio, he basically, he jumped over that defender against Robert Morris. I mean, you could see the athleticism the kid has. I think clearly when you watch it, even when Jaden Bray was there, I think Jaden Bray's good, but Cam Vaughn was easily the number one wide receiver. I mean, if I'm putting it on a spectrum of saying, okay, here's their best playmaker on the outside, Cam Vaughn was easily number one. And I think right now, Cam Vaughn's their best player on offense now. I mean, it was Jaheim White and then Cam Vaughn.
And they targeted him only like 2 or 3 times in the game. You've got to throw him the foot. I don't know if that was on Nico or the quarterbacks. I don't know I don't know the reason because I don't have the all 22. But you've got, whether it's in a screen game, slants, whatever, you get Cam Vaughn the football, man. Especially now that Jaheim and Jaden are both out, you've got to get the ball in his hands and let him make plays.
And I think that was kind of the shocking thing for me watching also the tape. I understand they're having issues, obviously, with just the talent level, and then you've got so many different guys there. But the game plan from Rich Rod, I was astounded. Why there were not more in-game adjustments after halftime when you're seeing, okay, you lose your best running back, but especially when you're looking to try to spread the ball, spread them out, because once you start watching the third quarter, Ohio starts putting guys in the box. At one point, they were starting to rush 5 or 6 guys to where they're just pretty much just selling out for the run, and then hopefully touching the quarterback, and hopefully Nico just throws it up. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you're starting to get people in the box, you got to be able to spread them out. I was just shocked from watching Rich Rod from 08 to 10, watching games that were there, watching them again at West Virginia versus Pitt in the day, and then versus Cincinnati versus Narduzzi. There was more creativity there. I'm not sure what was going on with that.
Yeah, I hope there's a method to the madness. My hunch is that he just doesn't feel like they can execute anything else yet. Maybe that's the case where they're all still new, because he still says today in press conferences they're still trying to figure things out. They're still learning the system. I mean, which, when you have 30 guys arrive in fall camp, that's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Or in the summer before fall camp. So anyway, well, JJ, man, I really appreciate you coming on. We're going to call this a night, man. But one more time, let everybody know where to find you and your work.
Yeah, find me over at Talking College Football with JJ Kitchen on YouTube, or find me on X at JJ_Kitchen40.
Awesome, brother. Thanks again for coming on. It's been fun. Everybody, thanks for watching. Be sure, I know all you Pitt and West Virginia fans are going to be tuning in to this game. It's very exciting. I think it'll be a close game, even because of the rivalry aspect. I haven't even looked at the line today. Last time I checked, it was 6.5 in favor of Pitt. So have you checked it recently, JJ?
Before I hopped on, they had it at 7.5. Okay. So they bumped up a point.
I figured the Jaheim injury would cause it to bump up. I thought it would. I'm surprised. It may be at 10 by the end of the week. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not shocking. I actually thought it would be close to that early in the week, to be honest, after West Virginia lost to Ohio. But nonetheless, man, it's going to be a fun game. It's always exciting. I plan to be there. Will you be there? Are you coming?
I will not be there. But I can tell you this: it's a shame that I got to tell you that this is a shame that it's the last year till 2029. Yeah. I mean,
please tell me it's not because you're afraid of getting hit with a battery.
Not getting hit with a battery, but I can tell you, you know what? I get Pitt fans. We've talked about it before, and just I get why Pitt fans don't want to go down. I get why they're not doing it. I know there's a lot of people that will be going down, but at the end of the day, I'm just upset that this is like just completely ending. We got to get a lifetime contract for this game. And I think it's good for the region. I think it's good for the economy. I think it's good for both universities. Yeah. It's just, at the end of the day, the schedule is what it is. And I know West Virginia, they took off Alabama, but they still had UVA on the schedule. So, right. West Virginia was not going to add 11 P4 teams in 2026. Right. I mean, that's just not going to happen. Like, Pitt's going to drop probably Wisconsin because they added Ole Miss yesterday.
Plus, they needed a home game, and Pitt doesn't want to go and come to Morgantown 2 years in a row, I would imagine.
Yeah. So I mean, at the end of the day, and then also too, it's crazy. Quick before we get off, the ACC going to potentially 9 games. I mean, 9 conference games. It's a shame, brother.
Yeah, it is. It is. But anyway, we can at least enjoy this one, and then once that 3-year hiatus hits, it means it's going to be that much more fun in 2029, right?
Amen. Amen.
Right. Hey, everybody go check out JJ's work to keep up with what's going on in Pitt world. Thanks for watching. Hope the rest of your day's top shelf. Q Country Roads.